friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And as promised, what I have for you today are some horror movie recommendations. And it's been less than a week and I'm posting again. So see, I'm trying to stay on track. And I'm just going to get right into it because I don't want to ramble on. But my first one, this is a recommendation that I got years ago from a gal who was over in the UK, and she used to make fantastic horror videos and all her recommendations were great. She doesn't make videos anymore, but I miss her. She was really, really good. This one is called Incident in a Ghostland, and this is the Region B Locked Arrow edition. I believe here in the States we might have a Blu-ray by now, but I'm pretty sure there is a DVD of this one available for anyone in the States who is not region free. But I know the Region B one that I have here is still floating around. You can check on Amazon and whatnot. But what we have here is we have a mom and her two young daughters. The mother has inherited a home, and she is going there with her two young daughters. And the first night they are there, they are victims of a pretty brutal home invasion. And I'm not going to get into the details of that, but you fast forward 16 years and we have the two sisters, and one of the sisters, Beth, is a very successful horror novelist, and she does all kinds of creepy novels and things like that. And the other sister, Vera, she kind of goes off the deep end a little bit. She has some emotional trauma from what happened to them that night in the house. And one night, while Beth is busy on book promotion for her latest book, she gets a phone call. And that phone call brings her back to the house where the events of that fateful night occurred. And that's where our movie is really off and running. And what I can tell you is this is a really great mix of straight up horror and psychological thriller. So it's a good mix for people who aren't into like the hardcore horror, but you still want to be engaged. And this has enough horror elements that definitely kept me on the edge of my seat. It really does a great job at bringing that paranoia out, the creepiness. There's some time jumps, but they're easy to follow. The house that they pick, the setting is perfect. The house is so creepy and unsettling. The contents of the house are perfect. The set design is amazing. And I just really, really enjoyed this. Now, there's not a lot I can say without spoiling it. I don't want to spoil it. It's just so good. Just watch it. What am I doing? I'm rambling on. Just watch Incident in a Ghostland. You won't be disappointed. And this next one, the next two come from a director that I have previously recommended to you guys, and his name is Alex de la Iglesia, and all his films are in Spanish with English subtitles. And the one that I recommended was called The Last Circus, and I love this movie. It's about the two clowns and the one gal that they're both in love with. But if you haven't checked out Last Circus yet, definitely check that one out. But these two films that I wanted to recommend to you today are both a mix of horror and dark comedy, but it's done so well that even if you don't like comedy mixed with your horror, I do think you're going to like these. And like I said, they are in Spanish with English subtitles. The first one is called The Day of the Beast, and this focuses around a priest who believes he knows the exact day and time that the Antichrist is going to be born. And what he does is he tries to prevent that by committing as much sin as possible with the help of people that he enlists. And let me read his list of people with you. Yeah, he knows the exact day and time the Antichrist will be born, so he enlists a death metal record store clerk and a cheesy TV psychic for an urban spree of gore, sacrilege, and twisted humor. So they just go off the deep end trying to prevent the birth of the Antichrist. All I can tell you is just watch it and have fun with it. It's really, really a good one, and I've watched this quite a few times, and I do like it. And the next one is, this one is called, and yes, it's not upside down, this is what it's called. It's called Witching and Bitching, and this is also a horror comedy. You can see the front, and it has a little spot gloss on the eyes, and then you have your people on the back. And I don't recommend horror comedies unless they're good, I promise. This one's really good. We have a group of bank robbers, and let me see. Yeah, we have a bank heist in the city, doesn't go according to plan. What they do is they are speeding through the mountains of Spain with some hostages they took from the crime scene that went wrong. And they end up in a little town, and what they realize is they are now being held by a coven of witches. And that's all I'm going to say. But this is a really good time. I had so much fun with this one. And to me, if dark comedy is put into humor right, it just works. And I really, really enjoyed this one. And like I said, in Spanish with English subtitles, but definitely give it a look. So now we're going to get into a little heavier things because I did a few light ones. I like to mix it up. A few light ones, a few heavier ones. Now, we've talked about the Addams Family before, and if you don't know the Addams Family, they are a family of four that does amazing indie horror. They do everything themselves. They film everything themselves. They even do the scores. They do everything. They're amazing, and their movies are really, really good. And the one that I talked about was the Arrow release of The Deeper You Dig, which they used another property. It wasn't their main property, but it was a home that they had purchased that they were working on, where they shot this because they felt like it had the vibe that they wanted, and they picked the time of the year. They do the handheld cameras, everything. They do everything themselves. And this is a fantastic one, and if you pick this one up, like I told you the last time, and a lot of you responded that you love the Addams Family too, make sure you watch the special feature about meeting the Addams Family, sitting down and talking with them and getting to know them and their process, and you will be blown away at what these people do, and you will be cheering for them just like we are. So those of us who know them, because they're fantastic, and The Deeper You Dig is a really good one. It's got a little mystery going on. A woman and she's living with her daughter, and I think the daughter's like 16, and the daughter goes missing, so she contacts a neighbor who's working on an abandoned house, and she's like, have you seen her? And kind of goes off from there. But I already went over this one. So The Deeper You Dig was the first one I recommended, but this time I'm going to recommend, and I wish this would get a Blu-ray release, Hellbender. And I know a lot of you mentioned that you love Hellbender, and the soundtrack for this is fantastic. It just sticks in your head. And it calls it a witch's tale that is spellbinding and sickly satisfying. And that about sums it up. But we have a gal and her mother who are living together, and the mother keeps the daughter around the house by convincing her that she's kind of chronically ill. And when the daughter tries to venture out on her own, I'm not going to get into everything, but we find out that they're witches. The movie is about witchcraft and witches, and this one was done. It was shot in the backyard of their family home. It is so good. The special effects are great. The soundtrack is fantastic. The story's great. The movie's great. If you haven't seen Hellbender, definitely check it out. You can check it out on Shudder. I believe it's still streaming on Shudder, or you can pick up this nice DVD and show some support to physical media, or do both. But yeah, another great one from the Addams Family, and I believe, I don't know, Special Features has visual effects of Hellbender by Black Magic Tricks, Hellbender music videos, bloopers, Zelda's alter ego, and behind the scenes footage traveling with Wonder Wheel. But you get to meet the Addams Family again, and they are just amazing. So I would love to have the opportunity to meet them in person and just congratulate them on what they are doing for horror and for movies in general. But yeah, Hellbender was one that you guys mentioned, and had to add it to the collection, so here it is. And that's my next recommendation. Now this one I just brought back because I mentioned it in my last video, the haul video, and there's something I wanted to tell you about it, and that's Abigail. I have rewatched it since the haul video, but I like this just as much as I did before, and as soon as I started to watch it, I was like, okay, I know why I liked it. Now what I will tell you, if you haven't watched Abigail yet, do not watch the trailer. Trailer gives away way too much of this movie, takes away some of the best parts of it, some of the best reveals, and I don't want to see you have your first viewing of this ruined by a bad trailer and bad marketing. But Abigail is a great movie. We have our young Abigail here who is kidnapped, and she is being held in a house by a bunch of, you know, like 20-somethings, and what we find out is that they are trying to blackmail her father for ransom money for Abigail's safe return. And things start to happen, and we find things out, and I am not going to do what the trailer did and ruin this for you. All I can tell you is this movie is a blast. It's so much fun. It's so vibey. It's got that, like, it's got just enough camp to it and just enough horror to it to make it a really good mix, and I think this is a winner. I really, really enjoyed this. And who do we have in here? I meant to mention someone. What's his name from Euphoria? The kid that passed away. Hold on, I'm gonna get that. Just like that, I'm back. And it's Angus Cloud. I don't know why I can't remember his name, because I know his name, I blanked out. But Angus Cloud is in this, and I believe it was his last movie, Angus Cloud from Euphoria, who passed away tragically at 25. But he is in this movie, and he's fantastic. So See it for that, or see it for any other reason. Just see it because it's really, really good. Abigail, it's a winner. And let's see. Here's another one. This is a good one. It's called Thirst. And this one is Korean with English subtitles. And what we have is a priest. This is the priest. And at some point in the very beginning of the movie, he gets sick and he needs a blood transfusion. And because of this blood transfusion that he is given, he starts to have these urges and these impulses that as a priest, he should not be having. He's thirsty for blood. He's interested in sex. He's having an attraction, an inappropriate attraction to a gal, and all kinds of things go on. And what I can tell you is this is one of the most wild vampire movies I've seen in a long, long time, but really, really good stuff. Very different. And you know, anything that's coming out of like Japan, Korea, things like that, it's going to be really, really good, and they don't hold back. So if you haven't seen Thirst, definitely check out Thirst. And this next one, this is going to fall into, now this is for a very, very select group of people. Not everyone is going to watch this. Every red flag I can put up here, I wish I had graphics of red flags so I would fill the screen. But people have asked me about this, so I wanted to share it with you. This is one of the French extremes. If you are pregnant, do not watch it. If you are squeamish, if you're not good with the gore, don't watch it. This is for the gore hounds who can handle all the French extremism and all that stuff, like if you think Martyrs and beyond. If you can handle all that, then you'll be okay with this, and it's called Inside. And what we have is a woman whose husband has passed away, and I believe it's on New Year's Eve. I think it's New Year's Eve. Oh, Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, she is a victim of a home invasion from a very strange woman, and things happen, and she wants her child. And I don't want to say any more, but just all I can say is please proceed with caution, because I don't want anyone traumatized, especially if you're, you know, if you have a hard time with things like this or any kind of French extremism, just steer clear. But this one is in French with English subtitles. This is the Second Sight release, and it's really nice. It's chock full of goodies. I don't know if I'm going to be revisiting this one again soon. It was a really tough watch. One thing I will say with this one though is that even though it's very much to the extreme with the gore and whatnot, it does a very good job of maintaining that tension, which a lot of the gory movies don't do. They just kind of depend on riding the coattails of the gore to the end, to the finish line. This one really does a good job of keeping you engaged with that, you know, that tension and that suspense and not knowing what's going to happen next. But I thought it was pretty good for what it was. It's a rough watch, but definitely if you were curious about Inside, what I thought about it, that's what I think about it without ruining it for you. But definitely steer clear if you are squeamish or if this is just not your thing. So that is Inside. And where do we go from there? All right, here's a good one. This one is in Japanese with English subtitles, and it is Ju-on, and it is the Japanese version of The Grudge. So if you know the story of The Grudge, you know the story. And basically what we have is, it says, deep in the shadows of the attic of an ordinary family home in the Tokyo suburbs, something malevolent is stirring. When a social worker is sent to check on a traumatized woman whose family have moved in at the site of a notorious family murder, she unwittingly unleashes a cycle of terror that is transmitted via the victims further and further from its original source. So basically, if you have a violent crime that takes place in a location, anyone who goes into that location afterwards is going to be affected by these acts of violence that have taken place. All I know is that this one blows the American remake away. Look at that. Look at the eyes. Come on. This is really good. I much prefer this to the American version, and I just think it's great. I mean, I know some people like the American Grudge, and that's fine. Enjoy it, but definitely see the Japanese one because it's a banger. Same thing for this one. Now, I think this one suffers from so many of us just saw this first and fell in love with it. The Ring, and this is the cool lenticular slipcover that's tough to get hold of. This is the American remake of The Ring. You know the deal. You watch the tape. There's the videotape. You watch the videotape with creepy, creepy images, and 7 days later, you die. Well, the same thing is true for the Japanese? Yes, Japanese version. and that is called Ringu. Now, this, if you thought The Ring was scary and creepy, this will blow you away. But so many of us saw The Ring first that a lot of people don't bother to see the Japanese version because they're like, well, why should I? Because you should. It is so, so good. I think this is the superior film. I think it just continually falls second to the American one because we saw that first. But definitely see the Ringu, the Japanese version, because you will not be disappointed. It is going to scare the bejesus out of you, and it's done so well. It's done so good, and I do pick this one up over and over again. I watch this one. I watch them equally, but I really, really do. I think the Japanese one is better. Just like with The Grudge, I think it's better. So definitely check out the Japanese version of The Ring, Ringu. And this last one, I just want to bring this one up again because I think this is so, so, so good. And I believe this is an Argentinian film, but it is in Spanish with English subtitles, and it is When Evil Lurks. Now, I'm bringing this up for the people who weren't here for the last video or the video before that whenever I talked about this one. This is so, so good. And like I said, I believe it's an Argentinian film. It's in Spanish with English subtitles. And what we have is we have a little community, like almost like a farming community. And we get word that something has gone wrong. These two brothers, they find evidence that maybe someone or a person or an animal has been killed. And they believe that something called the evil is in their little community. And they go to a house and they find out that there is someone there who is bedridden, and it is beyond disgusting. It's so gross. And like I told you before, the first time I tried to watch this, I was just gagging watching it. And then the second time I watched it, I loved it. And I've watched it many times since, and I just love it. You get by the gore after the first watch. It's a little shocking at first, but he is a mess, and he is supposedly infected with this evil, and they think he's going to give birth to a demon. And that's all I'm going to say, but we follow this demon as it terrorizes this community, and we try to find out the origins of where it is, where it came from, how it got here. But this, it's so unnerving, it's so unsettling, but it is so, so good. The story is good, the story is strong, the characters are good, the acting is good, very believable, very realistic. I love this. I think it's fantastic. So if you haven't seen When Evil Lurks, I always say where. When Evil Lurks, definitely put it on your watch list. See it ASAP because it's really, really a great one. So those are my quick recommendations, horror recommendations for right now, and we're going to do more of these going forward, as you know, I try to do with all the videos. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I talked about some films that you haven't seen before or that sound good and you want to put them on your list. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I've been catching up on the comments, so you see that I'm almost caught up on the last few videos. So thank you for being patient with me. But I want to thank everyone who took time out of their day to watch this. You know I appreciate everyone who clicks on the videos and watches them. I hope you find them helpful and enjoyable. If you like things like this, film recommendations, collection overviews, hauls, anything that has to do with physical media, we do it here. Consider subscribing and hit the bell notification so you know when I upload again. Be a couple days and I'm going to upload something new for you because I have some new ideas. But that's going to do it for me today. I'm going to go up, edit this, play with the puppies, and call it a day. So for now, that's a wrap.